for Mr. Robert Wise. And look, this will not be the first time we clap. We are recognizing Bob's extraordinary record of service. And I will say we also have an extraordinary list of speakers and an extraordinary group of attendees. It is both a recognition of what one person can do, and I hope it will be an inspiration for all of us to go and do likewise. So please stand and join me in a heartfelt round of applause to acknowledge the guest of honor, Bob Wise. Let us take a moment, and I would ask you to call to mind those who taught you, who inspired you, and summon their spirit to be with us tonight. Thank you. We have a number of guest speakers, and the quality and the quantity of the speakers attested to. You may be seated, yes. My intros will be short, but if you want to hear the long ones, come see me afterwards. I've got them all written down there. It's beautiful. But in the interest of time, we're going to do it nice and short tonight. We just ask you to follow a format that many of you will be familiar with, which is the Board of Ed Public Speaks format. You got 2 minutes, and after 2 minutes, if you're done, we're going to take you off the stage. No, people speak from the heart, speak for as long as you want. And we're going to start, our first speaker, we're going to start with where Bob ended his career at Maplewood Middle School. And our first speaker is someone who has paid it forward and has come back to serve in the school district where she was a student. So without further ado, the principal of Maplewood Middle School, Dara Brown.
Thank you for moving me up. We have the dinner dance tonight. Can I have the MMS staff that are here indulge me by standing with me while I say a few words about our new live Mr. Wise. This is after a long day in June in a middle school, and this crowd came out for Mr. Wise, and some people who joined, so thank you. Mr. Wise, I hope you'll come up at the end. Mr. Wise was one of the first people I met when I started at MMS 7 years ago, and everybody told me how amazing he was, how much he cared about the school, how much he treated it like his home and wanting it to be in the best possible condition, clean, ready for kids. He tirelessly advocates for the building and all that it needs. And he takes care of all of us. There's something little we needed in the office, in the classroom, something for kids, something moved. He just wasn't that guy that was going to say no. You know that character on TV, not Mr. Wise. He does everything for everybody, and his presence and his love for the building is felt. I know if everybody got a chance to speak, they would say the same. We love you dearly, Mr. Wise. We really do, all for our own different reasons. I thank you for your personal support of me, because in doing that, you took care of the school. And I also know that you care a lot about our community. You're an advocate, you're a presence in the community, and we're all better for it. MMS is better for it, Maplewood is better for it, our community is better for it. So you deserve an amazing retirement. Thank you for everything you've done, and we love you. And I just want to say that Ms. Lackey, who is new to us, and she's one of our tech teachers, she's a STEM teacher, and I said we've got to send Mr. Wise out in style. And so if you look at our yearbook this year, on page 72 it says, "We are forever grateful to Mr. Wise, the man who has kept MMS together." And that is absolutely true. Thank you, Mr. Wise. I think I'll still get my 2 minutes. Somebody time me?
Before we go on, because we always want to do this, it usually comes at the end of the evening. Let's do it while everyone's here. I want to thank the people who helped put this event together. Steve Lance, Shannon Cuttle, Anne-Marie Manning, the three musicians, the staff here, Sally Unsworth and the staff. Lovely evening. And I also want to acknowledge something, but I want to make it clear this is not an invitation for you to ask Carol West to make a cake like that. But if you haven't seen the cake, take a minute and look at it. So thank you, Carol. We're honored to have at least three members of our audience have served as the mayor of Maplewood. And our next speakers will go in chronological order. So the first one, in the interest of keeping the introduction short, I'll just say Maplewood's first female mayor, first Democratic mayor. She also served as secretary of the New Jersey State Senate. And if you use and like the jitney, you can thank our speaker, the Honorable Ellen Davenport.
David. It's no surprise to one of you that Bob Wise is a good friend. But I also was so impressed the very first time I ever met him, and not really met him. We were at the Bagel Chateau several years ago, having breakfast there, which I do pretty regularly. And there were a lot of Maplewood Middle School kids there. And about 8:15, 8:17, a man comes in, he stands at the door and he said, "What are you doing here? The bells are ringing. Get out of here. Go to school." That wasn't the impressive part. When the kids left, they gave him high fives, hugs, hit him on the shoulder, and whatever. I thought to myself, what a special person this is. I was a teacher. I know that's hard to get that kind of respect. But he also is such a good friend that when I went to him last year and asked him an enormous, ginormous favor, he didn't hesitate. He said yes. It's a little secret, but Bob Wise is one of our Dickensville Village Santas, and it's a very important position. No pension, no money, no bathroom breaks, 3 hours of listening to children, but he does it well, and he does it with class, and he's a good friend, and he's what Maplewood is all about. Bob, thank you very much.
Our next speaker was the first resident of the Hilton neighborhood elected to the Maplewood Township Committee. He's the past director of both the Iron Ground Community Corps and the Jesse Smith Noyes Foundation, and he served as the mayor of Maplewood on and off for 14 years. So please welcome Victor Lucan.
Thank you, David. And I don't see Dean. Dean had to run out. We had an issue over at the Bergdorf, so he may not be back, and he did want me to extend his greetings and his best wishes to Bob. So if he can come back, he'll speak, but if not, and we have a township committee meeting that starts in about 29 minutes, so we're going to be real quick. I want to express my thank you to Bob for all that he has done, both in the school community and in the Maplewood community. He is someone who cares, and that's hard to find nowadays, because he not only cares, but he's someone who follows up and delivers and makes sure that he holds us accountable to do what we do. And I will tell you that when I got a call on my phone from Bob, or I got a text on my phone from Bob, I answered. Because he wanted to make sure that we knew it was important to get things done, and we had, the last was the issue at the school. We had an issue with some construction. I was down in Washington, D.C. I was at this congressional meeting, and sure enough, at 8:30 in the morning, I'm getting calls from Bob, and we got it resolved. So he's a man of action. He's someone who deserves to retire, to take a rest, but we will continue to have you with us. Bob will continue to be an employee of the Township Committee. He will be at this venue during events, and he will be over at D-Hart, so we'll still have him there. So, you told me we're not getting rid of him too quickly. We're going to keep you, and thank you for everything that you've done. It's been an honor and a privilege to call you a friend and a colleague and a neighbor. So thank you, Bob.
I would like to acknowledge, along with the school district employees, anyone who has served our community as a member of the Board of Education. If you could either stand or make yourself known, and let's acknowledge their service. One of the speakers tonight, I won't tell you whom, you may be able to figure it out, once told me that she'd rather have triplets by natural childbirth than serve on the Board of Education. And so when everyone says that it's a thankless job, I want to make sure that they are thanked, because our children all benefited from your service. So thank you. Yes. Our next speaker, since Mayor Davis is unfortunately occupied, is a member of the Maplewood Township Committee, and she's also a Seth Boyden parent, which is the next group we would like to bring to acknowledge all that Bob has done. And for those of you who have not yet signed the memory book, I encourage you to. I'm going to read you just a couple things that parents said in acknowledging the RSVP people who couldn't be here. Here's what one parent said. We're not going to use any names, and there were so many entries that you'll understand why I can't include evidence. My kids learned as much from Mr. Wise as from any of their teachers. How to be kind, how to build things, how to take responsibility for yourself and for your neighbor. Thank you, Mr. Wise. So, our next speaker has a similar sentiment. She's here, and she's a member of the committee, Jermaine Cripe.
Thanks, David. So as he said, I'm a former Seth Boyden parent, but I was also a former MMS parent. And I always felt like Mr. Wise followed us just to make sure Alice was taken care of, and Robert was there. There are children that went through this district that knew when they left it that they were loved. And you were the gentleman. They would see their names, know their faces, ask about their weekends. You connected these schools, Seth Boyden, CHS, and MMS. You connected our communities. You were the first person my not so happy with adults daughter would look for on those days. And I actually have photo proof that you're the only adult that she ever wanted to take a photo with. So thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done for us, for not retiring and leaving us alone. And although we know that because of your health issues, you have to step back a little bit and everything, part of me feels good about it because I think the heart that you have has been spread through the community so much that your body said, okay, you gotta keep this a little bit for yourself. So thank you for all the love and laughter, good hard work, and just teaching our kids how to be human in a world that doesn't always lift up those good characteristics. You're an example, you're a mensch, and I'm so glad that we have you in our lives. So happy retirement, it's well earned, and thank you again for all that you've given us, Mr. Wise.
Our next speaker is another Seth Boyden parent. And I'm going to, while he's making his way up, that would be Claude Getz. Yes. While he's making his way up, let me read a couple other things that staff said. Mr. Wise has been a stalwart help and support for my student piano recitals at the Hart Community Center for years. He takes great care in making everything go well. Here's what another one said. Mr. Wise is very appropriately named. He could also be named Mr. Kind or Mr. Helpful. His quilting buddies wish him well in his retirement. There's nothing. And now, here's a Seth Boyden parent with a good perspective on Bob's service to Claudia.
Thanks, David. You applaud now, but you may think differently at the end. I don't know, we'll see. I was an MMS parent, not a Seth Boyden parent, just a detail, but I have been a proud member of the Robert Wise Fan Club since I met him at MMS. And so it's a privilege to get up here tonight and make a few remarks to help you ease your way into a well-deserved retirement. I think it's an easy thing to do because a little bit secretly, don't we all really want to be like Robert Wise? Somewhat. I mean, I've got at least 3 reasons why. He's popular, he commands respect, and he's got moves. I think in terms of popularity, you need only look at the room tonight and any number of other occasions like this one in which Robert has been celebrated, and I've had the pleasure to attend. I think his numbers might be better than some of the neighbors. Maybe just equivalent. I don't know, is that smart? Yeah, I got the math right. I think he commands respect, as I said. For the first 6 years that I knew him, I thought his first name was Mr. And he's got moves. I also had the privilege to meet Robert on one of the occasions in which he was playing Santa Claus, as previously referenced. Yes, I sat on his lap, and I asked him for a Jaguar, thinking that, you know, it was Santa Claus, and it's kind of a one-way street. But he said, well, if you get a Jaguar, I get a Jaguar. And so, Bob, this is not probably what you had in mind, but to help ease you into retirement, first the hug, then the talk.
Speaking of gifts, you may have noticed at the front, there's a piece of paper, it looks like this. It is self-explanatory. And would encourage you, if you can find it in your heart and have the resources, to help contribute to a GoFundMe for Bob. And you'll see that on the way out. They're there for your convenience. Our next speaker, I think because the program got changed a little, I think we're going to now ask a former member of the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education and one of our elected officials in Trenton who has done really noble work on behalf of education funding in the state. And I would ask, I'll ask Myla JC to come up now, and at some point Bob will have to go up too. Come on up to someone. Myla JC.
She's my daughter, I can tell her what to do. When Steve called me, my immediate answer was, of course, I would be there. Because Bob and I go way back. And I don't know if Vic is still here, but one of my memories is campaigning on Springfield Avenue with Vic DeLuca and Bob Wise. And Bob introduced me to people because he knew everybody in the community. And
And I think you've already heard lots about his kindness, his wisdom, his respect for our children. But I want to tell you one other thing that he did for me. And that's why I asked my daughter to come up, and I'm going to put her on the spot. She's going to have to say something. But her first teaching job was at Seth Boyden. And having gone through the school system, as all three of my kids did, I couldn't have been prouder than to have her there. However, I don't know how many of you know how hard it is to be a first-time teacher. You really are feeling alone a lot. And you're spending a lot of time trying to fix up your room, trying to make it welcoming to the children. This one over here is a perfectionist, so of course she was there till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. She was living at home because that's what she could afford because of all the debts to pay back for graduate school. And fortunately, my husband was retired. And so we spent a lot of time in the building with her and Mr. Wise fixing up the room, making it a welcoming place for her kids. And the other thing that he did without being asked was when she was there late and it was dark outside, and because there weren't enough spaces in the parking lot for all of the teachers, being low person on the totem pole, she parked on the street. And without being asked, I don't know how many times you walked her to her car after telling her, you really need to go home now, you know that. So, yes, so I will let her speak for a moment, but also I want you to know that we do like to recognize our outstanding citizens here in New Jersey, in the state of New Jersey. Unfortunately, the real resolution honoring you isn't in my office yet, but when it gets there, I will personally deliver it to you at your house. Okay, Rena?
Okay. I wasn't planning to speak, but my mom pretty much said it all. When I started teaching back over 20 years ago, I was at Seth Boyden, and Mr. Wise, he was Seth Boyden. He was the community, the family. I was the only new teacher that year, and so I was kind of overlooked, and I was often alone in my room, and Mr. Wise would come in and he'd talk to me, and I'd have me bookcases, and we painted that, remember that light yellow bookcase you painted me? Made it this nice yellow color, made it safe, made sure there was no sharp edges for the kids, and just went above and beyond, and just made me feel welcome and at home, and like it was home. And yes, he did used to kick me out, which was really difficult because I always had more work to do. But thank you, Mr. Wise. You really inspired me. I feel like your legacy lives on, and all of us in here and all the kids that we have all been able to help because of the work you have done, what you've poured into all of us. And so we're going to keep paying it forward, and just thank you so much and congratulations.
How do you know him, Bob?
So you've heard about Bob at Maplewood Middle School, where he's been since 2013, but he also spent a significant amount of time at Seth Boyden. And is Mark Keelis still here? Great. So our next speaker was the principal at Seth Boyden from 2006 to 2016, and is going to speak to Bob's time there. Mark Keelis.
I'm just going to set this up here. I won't drop it or something like that. Bob, where have you squirreled yourself off to? Outside the door. In 1988, I found the love of my life, Maria, who usually attends with me these things. And she's a little busy tonight. She sends her love, Bob. And I hope I'm not going to steal, I hope I'm not going to get jealous looks from your girlfriend when I say in 2006 I fell in love again, this time with Bob Wise. He took this young administrator, absolutely. He took this young administrator, myself, around the neighborhood when I first started in July. We met community members, families, church members, church leaders, and he began to connect to me even before the school year, even before I had a chance to meet the phenomenal staff that I would be the principal of for the next 10 years. Bob he was always there. He was there all hours of the day, all hours of the evening. He was a great support, continues to be a great support in the community. He taught me many things as an administrator in connecting with the community. I have no doubt that without asking, he would walk a person like Rena Jacey to the car and others to the car at night. I was privileged to be in a school where staff didn't run out the door at 3. They stayed and dedicated their life and their time and their energy and their talents. And no less did Bob Wise do that. He had me on cell phone. I was his first ring, anything going wrong with the building or anything in need. But he was also there in the very early mornings and the very late evenings. I admire him. I respect him. And Bob, they pulled me out of retirement to come and shout you out. And I am privileged and honored to do so. I love you, Bob. It was a privilege to work alongside of you all those years. And I thank his family and his friends and this community for sharing this great man with us. Thank you.
Thank you. So you can see that Bob has many families, but it is now the time in the program when we are going to acknowledge the family that is here with him tonight. Bob is blessed with 5 children and 7 grandchildren, and 3 of his children are here tonight: Margaret Jones, Michael Wise, and Barbara Dean. And 3 grandchildren, yes, are also here tonight. 3 of his grandchildren: Brielle Hart, Alana Jones, and Kaylin Jones. And now, for the family, Margaret Jones is going to say a few words.
Hello. Thank you all for coming out and celebrating my dad on his retirement. It'll be my task to try to get him to sit down and not do anything and to relax, which I don't think he knows how to do. But he's always been a hard worker. All my life, I've known my father to get up and go to work. And if I can say anything, is that he has taught us to know what it is for a man to get up and go out to work and take care and provide for his family. So I know with this retirement, he probably wouldn't have retired if he didn't have to. I think he probably would have put in as long as he could, and I would have been dragging him out by his ear probably. But he's always done a great job in doing what he needs to do, and he's always made sure if he had run home and then run out and run back home and run out again. So, you know, I know, well, my oldest daughter, she went to Maplewood, and she went to Maplewood and Columbia High, so it was always a privilege to know that my dad was there, and that because people knew who my dad was, they also looked out for her. So thank you again for coming out. I appreciate all the love that you all showed him. I appreciate that you all are looking out for him also. And you know, like I said, if you see him in the school, point him to the door. Don't let him come in. But I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much for loving him as we do.
Did you guys know that your grandfather was this famous?
And now we'll hear from his granddaughter, Brielle.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brielle. A few of you may have had me in your class, Miss JC. As my mom said, I was in all of the Maplewood schools. I went to Seth Boyden. I was in Maplewood Middle. I graduated from Columbia High School. So a lot of people knew me, and a lot of people, more importantly, knew my grandfather. And so, you know, when things would happen, it'd be like, Brielle, I'm gonna tell your grandfather, you know, so you gotta get in line. I'm gonna call Mr. Wise. So it was a blessing and a curse having your grandfather work in the school because you could never really escape. But like my mom said, we thank you for loving him as much as we do. Mr. Wise is the exact same in the schools with all of the students as he was at home. He was firm but loving. So again, we thank you all for just coming out to support him, for, you know, finally retiring. Again, I don't think he would have left. But again, thank you all for coming out. Thank you so much.
So before, I'm going to take a professional risk based on the caliber of this audience. If there's anyone else who would like to say a few words, now is the time. And I think we do have at least one other person. Very good. Come on up. Yes.
Hi, I am a new member of the Mr. Wise fan club. I came on board the HSA this year and was very worried about having enough tables and chairs and things for the events that I was throwing for the teachers. And I had to just ask Mr. Wise once. He was like, don't worry, it's going to be there. But I worried, I still worried. The next morning I came in, I'm like, are my tables there? He's like, of course. And then I learned that we all could just depend on Mr. Wise, because he was always there with a smile to help and always had what we needed. My kids say that as they walked in the halls, if they said, you're the man, Mr. Wise, they got cougar cash. So, do I get some now if I say that? So we have a gift for you in this envelope, and we have a plan for you, and I hope that when you look at this plan, you'll remember all of the kids that you helped to blossom. And we want to say, you're the man, Mr. Wise.
So before I introduce our guest of honor again, and remind you, of course, to sign the memory book and let him know, those of you who have not spoken, I hope you will be renewed in all the good that you do. One of the remarkable things about reading the testimonies and hearing people is that not one of the acts of kindness that was described tonight is beyond any of our capacities. We can all do what Mr. Wise does. And so on that, you may have an opportunity to practice that tonight, but first let me introduce, without further ado, Bob Wise.
This is something I always Not another word. I started to, that was a joke. I started to write a speech, and every time I decided to write a page, I would throw it on the floor. This is something I always wanted to do. Bria, would you come pick this up, please? I always wanted to take the garbage can. Andrew, are you here? Andrew Fishman, are you here? Come help pick up this paper, please. Bria, get some of this paper. But that was something I always wanted to do, was just take paper, just spit all over the place. Go down the hallway with a bottle of water. The reason I call Andrew, because we really took care of this place years ago. Andrew would be on that side, on his knees, getting scuff marks on the floor, until I taught Andrew how to take a scuff mark on the front. And you put your shoe like this, and it takes the scuff mark off the floor. I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Oh, thanks for the Jaguar. I never get the Jaguar, but I love the toy cars. Mary Loretta, and Renee, Dave, Dave Hillman, Bill Tower, Steve Glass, and Sally Elmwood, and especially the township of Maplewood, who have known of this building, known us this building. I thank them so much. I just want to thank everybody once again for coming out, and hopefully you had a decent time, and I really, really appreciate it. And next year, it'll be my birthday party. Thank you so much. Steve, are you here? Steve Lass? Can't see Steve. Thank you so much, Steve. Thanks to everybody. Thank all of you.
Thanks, everyone. There's plenty of food. It either needs to be consumed or taken home. It's a group